in for some food, a couple coffees, get jacked up again, and go back out and continue working. Getting some 23-foot sheet metal panels, 23-foot by 3-foot panels up on the roof by myself today. And again, no sleep. I don't know why. Woke up 3 in the morning 2 nights ago. 3 in the morning night before last. Stayed awake till 6:30. I slept till 7. I woke up again at 3 o'clock again this morning. I don't get it. Probably got circles under my circles. Whatever. Maybe I'll eat a whole pile of food tonight. Get a better sleep tonight. But anyway, I gotta go make another road trip for 7 or 8 or 9 hours and get my horse trailer, a bunch of hay and a bunch of other stuff, move back here. Then I'm gonna go up north into the middle of nowhere here pretty quick. A couple days up north, and I'm gonna dive into some forest by myself, and I'm gonna put some cameras out in salt licks, and I'm gonna build some tree stand platforms in the timber. Should be interesting, but anyway, I got lots to share. Quick note, you know, when one thing I learned from my childhood, I guess, or watching people, is when people go into another family, enter a relationship with children from previous family, especially the men, it's a big thing, man. It's a big thing. You got to make sure that you are going in there and you're going to treat everybody equally, no matter what. And sadly, a lot of people unfortunately screw up, and they actually pull into their children's lives people that are actually not too good. Unfortunately, both my parents brought in some real doozies into our lives, which had a very negative impact. So at this stage of the game, I have a lot of respect for those superhumans who go into other people's, enter relationships with people who have children, previous children, and do a good job. And there's one man in Nevada, his name's Kyle Baker, and he's doing a spectacular job at being a man, a good man, and it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, my man, and good work laying down, being a good example out there, all right? I hope your birthday is a good one, and take note of that, everybody. Like I said, I can't help myself. When I hear or see men in particular, for me, they go enter relationships with people with children from previous relationships and do a solid, good frickin' job. It's like, just hold those dudes up there. They're superhuman. And the ones that do a poor job, I see you way down there. Way down there. Anyway, that was a quick mention for Kyle Baker. Happy birthday, my man. You're doing a good job out there. Now, what else? Quick note. You know, a lot of people send me a lot of videos. All of a sudden I'll get a weird influx of the same video. You gotta see this, you gotta watch this, have you seen this? I don't know why. I don't know how that happens, but it does. And somebody sent and said, you gotta see this video of this huge dire wolf. They're calling it a dire wolf. This abnormally monster-sized wolf that comes out of nowhere and attacks a domestic dog. It's on YouTube. It's been forwarded to me a bunch of times. And just so all of you know who aren't quite familiar with how big a wolf actually is, wolves are huge, all right? And the wolf in that video, it's a black wolf, and it's been pumped on social media, on YouTube world, as being this like, extraordinary, freaky wolf from hell. And it's not, it's just a big wolf. And just so you guys know, what am I? I'm 6'1", and I'm going to show you how tall the wolf is. I have a trail camera photo with me in the exact same spot where a wolf is standing in front of a trail camera, and I went and took a picture of me standing there, and his back is right there on me. Right there. Okay? And that's a big male wolf. And I am 6'1". Alright, so there you go. The wolf in that video is just a big timber wolf. That's all it is. And what else? What else? Oh, I promised to get more shares from more knowledge out from Edgar and his crew today. I just didn't. I have to go back into my inbox to get those emails and put them in a certain place and go through them, because there's things in there and names that I am not going to share. The names I'm not going to share. I can't. Otherwise, if I did, we're not going to get that information shared with us. But I do know the names. I know who they are. And Furthermore, I've been talking with the Owl Man back and forth as well. And one thing I've realized as I go, getting pieces to my puzzle is the farther you go, the crazier it gets. The deeper you go, the almost scarier it gets in a way. But I guess if you are scared of the actual truth, then it's probably more comforting to stay focused on dermal ridges and banging on trees and whooping in the night, right? That's about all that you can get out of doing that, is keeping yourself safe from the actual reality and the truth of the shit show that's going on. It's something else. It's definitely something else. What else was I going to say on that? I forgot. See when I was telling you guys earlier, when I turn these damn cameras on, I don't script anything. I always forget what I want to mention. But the truth of the matter is the truth of the topic is the farther you go, the more open you can keep your mind, the more knowledge you gain, and the more absolutely amazing it is. And it's definitely, the truth is very hard to accept. It's just the way it is, and it's only because of how we were raised and what has happened to our minds through the education system and TV programming, right? And that is why the reality is so difficult for us to wrap our brains around and accept as actually going down. Unfortunately, it is going down. And also, you know, the people, there's a lot of people out there who somehow get stuck right here. They're stuck. And they keep on chanting, we need more proof, we need more proof, we need more proof, we gotta get more proof. And I'm talking about the people who already are aware of the truth. And they've allowed themselves to get stuck there. And from what I have learned now through this journey with all of you and this channel is, it has become, I've become aware that the people who are aware of the reality of what's going on and allow themselves to stay in that space of, we got to get more proof, we need more proof. From what I know now, you are actually a big part of the problem. I shouldn't say a big part of the problem, but you're a part of the problem. You can see the proof is in the numbers, and the proof is in the amount of people who are sharing here, that if you carry yourself, if you're going to have a presence online, if you're trying to get ahead when it comes to this topic, if you're trying to get ahead to the realities and the honest truth, I would suggest that you change your mindset to, there's a shit pile of proof out there. It's already been proven. Moving along. Because if you don't move along now, you are going to stay where you are for a long time, thinking you need to acquire proof for the public. All right? The truth, the reality of what's going on is just absolutely something else. And yeah, I'm babbling. Let's just say that. Let's just leave that at that. I got more to share, obviously. I got a lot more to share from some key individuals who I trust and I believe have more knowledge than we've ever heard about previously ever on this topic. And what they have to share and are sharing is absolutely mind-boggling. And it's going to be very tough for the majority of the people to wrap their noggins around it. It's almost like it's much easier to just think these are nesting, migrating apes and to stare at dermal ridges and bang on trees in the night. It keeps you safe. It keeps your brain safe, but unfortunately it keeps you way back there out of sight at the very tail end of the lineup of people looking for the truth, the real truth. I wonder if I even made sense this last 5 minutes. I got so much in my brain and I try not to babble, but I end up babbling. The gist of it is, if you insist on thinking you need to acquire more proof for the public, you're going to be sitting there a long time. You got to move on. Go to the next step. There's enough proof out there now. There's enough proof out there now that if the general public isn't picking up what's getting thrown down, they're not going to. And as long as they can't pick it up, what do you think you're going to do as you keep trying to create proof for that crew of people? You're stuck with them. Now you are voluntarily stuck with that group of people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Break free. Accept the truth. Accept the fact that you already know this shit's going down, and come on up here with us. Come on up here with us and learn more, all right? Staying there thinking you need to acquire proof for the general public is going to keep you stuck in that sand pit. You're not going to go anywhere. You're a crab in a bucket. Yeah. Sorry about that little blob blob. What do we got? I think I forgot. I'm supposed to mark this one as red. Or this is going to be red today. I try to go through now, somewhat go through to make sure. I'll pick 6 emails. I'll number them 1 to 6, which puts them all in order for me to read, and it allows me to skip reading emails that aren't what we're after. And it helps me with my time. So I have my 6 ready to go. I don't know what they're about, but I skim through real quick to make sure it's about somebody who needs help or somebody who's shared experience. Now, Fire River, Ontario sighting. Hey Steve, started watching your channel about a month ago when I was laid up from a fall in which I hurt my back and had to take some time off from hunting. All better now, though. Anyways, I sent my father some of your videos because he enjoys a good hunting story. Well, he looked into how to hunt and found that you also have genuine interest in Sasquatch stories. He called me and said, I and Mike swore we would never tell this to anyone, but considering Mike is no longer with us, he won't mind. In the early 2000s, they used to go up just north of a place called Fire River, Ontario to fish some of the lakes in that area. And 6 guys would take 3 pickups with toppers and sleep in the bed of the trucks. Well, my dad had to start using a sleep apnea machine in the spring of 2005, so he purchased a little Honda generator to run his machine all night, even going as far as to build a vented box to put over it to lessen the noise. 2 nights in, at about 2 a.m., my dad woke to the sound of the generator getting louder. He said he sat up and looked through the 3 windows of the topper window and the truck's back and windscreen without his glasses and thought he could see 2 figures out by the generator. While he scrambled for his glasses, he woke Mike up and Mike said, "Why is the generator so loud?" By this time, Dad had his glasses on and could see 2 7 or 8 foot figures looking down at the generator. By this time, Mike had seen them and said, "What the F?" After a second of staring in awe, they threw both gates open and quickly climbed out of the back of the truck. Mike immediately went for the rifle and Dad went for the headlights. When they came on, they watched as 2 tall dark figures that were covered in long dark reddish brown hair disappear into the forest. Dad removed the wooden box that covered the generator, maybe out of curiosity, and there was smeared marks on the box from maybe very filthy hands, not to mention the smell just from handling the box. Dad smelled it, said it smelled like a dump bear. They said nothing to Mike's brother-in-laws, who we were with them. They finished their week and never told anyone until now, and immediately sent it off to you. Thanks, Steve. Eddie McGuire, Sheboygan, Michigan. I hate not being able to pronounce this shit. I'm going to be one of those old codgers that goes, well, if that's how it doesn't sound, then why'd you spell it that way? Right? This place is called Cheboygan, Michigan. There you go. You guys pronounce it. Thanks for that email, man. They're not alone. More and more people are coming forward every day. All right, here's another one. Again, you guys, I'll make up that share from Edgar and his friends soon, all right? There's a lot of information coming. Recap on the use of tobacco. Thanks, Steve, for reading my terrible email. Wasn't thinking that you would get to it for at least a couple of months, if ever. I did answer some of the comments people had that were listening to that story, so I thought I'd bring it up for you to share if you wish. I'm a registered member of the Lakota Nation, the Oglala Lakota. With many of the native tribes, tobacco is considered sacred. So many would carry the tobacco to offer it if they are going to a ceremony to give the holy man, medicine man, etc. It's also used as if you see a feather or an antler or something out of the ordinary on the ground, who's not to say that was not placed there for you by the animal or by the Creator. So by offering tobacco and saying a prayer, not to the object, but to give thanks, just as somebody would do as they sit down in the evening at dinner table. It's also a way of acknowledging what is in front of you that you see, such as I did that day. The way we say, we come in peace, we're not here to harm. I offer tobacco before I go hunting or fishing every day that I pursue that. If I am lucky enough to harvest an animal, I offer that tobacco again and give thanks. For without that gift of that animal, I would not be able to eat or share that food with others. Then when cooking it up, I offer at tobacco, once again giving thanks. I think he meant offer up tobacco, once again giving thanks. So hopefully this gives a little bit more clarity on what the tobacco is used for. It's not used for smoking or chewing, it is used as a gift. Any amount that one would give is just a pinch between their fingers. It's the intention. The big one knows this, as we've heard many stories that you have read and told to all the viewers. He or she knew what my intentions were. That's why I had received a thank you by it, bowing to me and leaving the flowers. On another note, it has been told to me by the elders of the Lakota as well as the Ute that if you meet these beings in the woods and they let themselves be seen by you, it is because you have come to a crossroads and your life. The decision is up to you on which way you turn. If you follow the correct way, then the big one will be there to help and guide you. Some elders will say, just like many of the other viewers, that it is mind talk or how they will communicate. I've not had this experience yet. I've had many gifts left on my trails as I leave the tobacco on certain occasions, but on most I'll always leave a small chocolate candy bars on the trailhead, or if I'm off the trail hunting, if I know that they're around. They like sweets. Certain things that will draw me to certain areas as to where to leave the candy bar. If I do return back by there sometimes, I will find just the wrapper left in the same spot. I've seen them sit there and watch me as I do prayers in certain areas. They know I mean no harm, and I know they mean no harm. I've seen them 4 times now, but I know when they're around. I can feel them, just not see them. Same. Normally when I feel them, I know that the animals are not around either. I try to find a new place to hunt. My personal belief is that they are as the guardians and the keepers of the animal world. They are the ones that protect and keep things balanced. We all know that there is evil in this world, and they will take care of that evil. You've read many other stories of people having encounters with the bad ones. There's good and bad in all living things. Nobody's perfect. You know, I got a tough one with that one sometimes I can have a tough attitude with accepting that they're the protectors. Like when you go out in the middle of nowhere and you see how much timber's gone in some areas, it's a little over the top, and right away you'll think, oh no, they did a pretty shitty job protecting that patch, didn't they? You know what I mean? Or when you look at, the fish being basically dead in that river, the steelhead disappearing in beautiful British Columbia nonstop, there's all sorts of evidence that points to that there is nobody taking care of anything out there, to me, at times. Possibly. When I do harvest some game or fish, I'll always leave a fish somewhere for thanks. Never know who or what gets a fish, and with game animals, as most hunters, we do leave all the entrails. But if it's somewhere that I know that they are, I'll always take the kidneys to them. In return, I've been gifted small smoky quartz crystals. At one time, I was gifted the blue rock of the turquoise. I hope this will give you and some of the viewers a little idea on how sacred the tobacco is to many nations. It is said that if you misuse the sacred tobacco, you will get sick, lung cancer, lip and mouth cancer. Many of the First Nations that follow these ways will mix raspberry leaves, sumac, sage, and other herbs with that tobacco if they are to use it recreationally. So this is the reason why many of us carry that pouch of bag of tobacco with us. It's to pray to the Creator, but it's to give a sacred gift, have acknowledgement to whatever it is that we are looking for or that was gifted to us. A way of saying thank you. Mato. Matakeu. Matakwe. Owasin. All right. Absolutely appreciate that email, Sam. And make sure you email back again. Now, one question I'd have, Sam, is what type of tobacco? Where do you get it? I mean, obviously the only place I would know where to get tobacco would be at the local store, right? So Yeah, I would like to know what type of tobacco and where do you get it? You can email that back, or somebody leave it in the comment section below, all right? Now, what else do we have? This is titled, Who the F Knows? Steve, thanks for all the encounter stories. They put me to sleep every night, haha. My encounter took place in '93 when I was 8. It was Columbus Day weekend in Freyberg, Maine, which meant family and friends would be up from Massachusetts to enjoy the Freyberg fair. That Friday, me and 2 brothers and a sister would wait watching traffic in anticipation for our weekend company. Once everyone arrived and it became dark, all us children would play cops and robbers, aka hide and seek. After an hour or so of playing, we all gathered near my mother's herb garden. As we all talked and laughed, some weird vibe came over us all. We all became silent as if we were told to, without being told to. Next thing we know, sticks and logs, big logs, were being tossed at us from behind my father's snow plow, which was parked about 30 yards from us, next to our barn. We all ran inside to our parents and told them what was happening. My father and uncle took it upon themselves to find out who was throwing shit at their kids. We are 100% Irish, so fighting is in our blood. They legit don't give an F. We waited inside on edge for them to return. When they finally did return, us kids gotta go to sleep. It was nothing, reply. The next morning we woke up to my father yelling, "It killed all the turkeys." We raised turkeys amongst other animals. Every turkey was missing toes and legs. It appeared some were ate and some were just killed. 10 years later I asked my old man, my father, about that night, because even as a youngster, shit didn't add up. He explained that as he and his brother rounded the barn, they were hit with a shit/death smell, his words. Almost immediately after the smell, they heard 3 whoops and then something growled at them. He said it made them vibrate inside. That's the only experience I had growing up there. Who knows? It wasn't normal and has remained a vivid memory in my head for almost 30 years. Stay true, Steve. You're a good dude. Thanks for the platform. Jeff, you're a good dude for writing in and taking your time to do that for us. You know what it was. Excuse me, so does your dad. Anybody who emails, comes to this channel, finds the email and emails us, you already know what it was. And more members of the club return. Right? What a big club it is, man. Holy shit. This is titled Requested Response. Hi Steve, I wish to remain anonymous because of my former occupation, which spanned 45 years in law enforcement. If you have questions regarding law enforcement, feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to relate to you from my point of view. I've been watching How to Hunt for about 2 years. I started watching your hunting podcast, and when you got into the subject of Sasquatch, I didn't think I'd missed one of your podcasts. Like you, I've been trying to learn more about the subject, but until now there's been no honest answers. R.E. Your podcast from October 2nd, 2021. A woman contacted you regarding an incident which happened in upstate New York in 1961, which has troubled her to this day. She requested if anyone else had a similar encounter to respond. It just so happens I had a similar encounter in 1961 in upstate New York. I hope my information is helpful to her and others. I grew up in what was the family farm, which had a hay field that started behind our house. It had a slope, which ended 200 plus yards at a creek. The other side of the creek had a steep clay bank, then woods, which... It was the winter of '61. When I was 10 years old, layer of ice would form on top of hard-packed snow, allowing us kids to sled down the sloping field past an apple orchard, ending at the creek. I think I read this, but I'm going to read it again anyway. One early evening, I went out to sled by myself. It was already dark, but there was good moonlight. I made my first run down the field as I approached the creek and had that feeling of dread, fear/being watched. Something was putting a message in my head that I was to leave now. I responded by telling whatever this was, it would have to leave, and this is my home. I towed my sled back up to the house and made a second run. As I got to the creek, I had a much stronger feeling of dread and fear telling me to leave. Gave this thing the same response and proceeded back to the house. As I reached the house, my father was outside. He was hooking up floodlights to light up the field for me. The lights were facing the creek. When he turned them on, we heard the most frightening screams / howls from the wooded area of the creek. This thing screamed 4 times, directed right at us. I knew right then what gave me the message to leave. With no prior knowledge of what a Sasquatch was, right at that moment, I had a very good picture in my mind of what it was. My father turned off the lights and said it was time to go in the house. By then I was already inside. My father got a shotgun out and put it by the door. I asked him what that was. He told me he did not know, and like nothing he had ever heard growing up on the farm. I believe my father knew more than what he told me. When I questioned him again, he said, if you leave them alone, they will leave you alone. I never let that incident keep me out of the woods. I continued to play, hunt, and fish, but from then on I kept a watchful eye on my surroundings. But from that day on, I've wanted to learn more about these beings. I hope my information has been helpful, Steve. Keep up the good work. We all appreciate what you're doing. Thank you. I'll leave your name out. Yeah, I read that one, but I think it's going to be helpful to somebody. And there's hundreds of people coming here nonstop, new ones. Excuse me. All right, this is titled, Bigfoot Helped Me in the Woods. Steve, I'm not very good at this electronics. Is this where I tell my Bigfoot story? If so, I will send you a second story that I experienced. Here's my story. I was 7 or 8 years old, so the year would be 72 or 73. I was the oldest male of 5 brothers, so I ditched my brothers to follow some older boys into the woods because they were younger than me and I wanted to be with older boys. This took place western New York. I have a few snow days, probably not as much as you. Anyway, long story short, I followed the older boys into the woods, and I thought I was following them, a little way behind then. I was watching moving bodies and heard speaking, so I kept on following them. They seemed to stay ahead of me, so I couldn't catch them. At some point, after what seemed like hours, I realized I was alone, lost, calling out to the older boys. Nothing, called a lot, then panicked to my core. I took off running as fastest than ever in my young life, and I was fast, LOL. I ran for what seemed like what was hours. I ran until I collapsed. I couldn't move. I was so tired. I'd been crying for about an hour, but after a while I found myself running, not really feeling anything, just running, thinking I could run my way back to the house until I collapsed. It was summertime, so it was hot. It was hot running. I was in the canopy of leaves from the trees, so shade. I got cold from sweating and had shorts and a t-shirt. So I stretched my shirt and put it on my head. My arms and knees inside my shirt to warm myself. Then the good stuff. I heard something walking, but I was so tired I couldn't move. And I'd felt like something had been following me. It felt like the same feeling I had when I thought I was following the older boys. And oh yeah, they ditched me when I started into the woods at the beginning of my journey. So I couldn't move at this point. I heard something say, "You're gonna be okay," and for me to just rest. No audible voice though. I heard it in my thoughts. Then, these massive arms picked me up, held me to its chest. I could feel its muscles through my t-shirt. I didn't pull my head out or even try to look at it. We felt like we were gliding, like I was in a swing. It felt warm, safe, love. It told me to sleep. You're safe. Didn't hear any noise or anything, and fell fast asleep. I woke up at the foot of the hill from my house. I didn't see anything, but felt like it was watching me. I said goodbye, thought that, but I said thank you out loud. Okay, sorry. I said goodbye. I guess what you meant to say was, I thought that. But then I said thank you out loud. So I walked up the hill, looked down towards my house, seen a bunch of people. I wasn't really happy about being home, so I sat and watched children in groups, adults talking. Anyway, it was the people in my neighborhood. They had been looking for me for half the day. The grown-ups all questioned me, told them what I thought was Bigfoot. They didn't believe me. My siblings and some other kids picked on me, but they were all afraid to go into the woods where it left me. But not me. I would go there and talk to it, even though I never seen it again. But something I knew was there. But I could always go there and nobody would follow me. I love the woods. Today, I love hunting and fishing. Bless you, brother. I live in Virginia now. I've seen the wood booger and what they call it here. Well, I've seen the wood booger is what they call it here. I call them my friend. I'm looking forward to my next encounter. I want to sit down and talk with it. Well, I'll send you my Virginia story soon. Keep your head on a swivel. I got your back, brother. That's one hell of a frickin' experience shared there, man. Picked up and carried by one. I couldn't frickin' imagine. And make sure you send your second story, all right? Because we are all over hearing about it. For sure. All right, what do we got here? Is it titled Sabe in Kansas 2. Dear Steve, sorry for such a short email. I just wanted to share my story. I was fishing on the river and the rocks were pelting me, and what I saw when the trees 10 foot up parted, I saw two very large hands that were dark brown and a face that looked like a very large black man with large dark eyes and a beard. My grandfather used to tell me of the old man of the river. This is in '96 when it happened. I've always felt their presence whenever I'm in the woods. And in this place at the junction of the Smoky Hills and Republican rivers form the Kansas River, I've had many fishing poles on fish go missing when I walked to my car to retrieve or put items away. I've been spoken to in a Native American tongue and chased out. On one night I was setting limb lines on the uninhabited side of Milford Lake, and it was 2:30 a.m. and my dad's first cousin was behind me, and he started running, and he yelled at me to run. And I looked back and I saw a 12 to 14 foot tall, brownish giant running about 20 feet to the left of him. What I saw was very wide, 8-inch hair, longer on the head and arms. It looked as if it weighed 1,200 pounds or more. So basically, your average bull moose running on its hind legs size. It just ran across the field and crossed over a 5-wired fence and into the bush and followed us back to the truck. We were terrified out of our minds that night. I now live in Texas and have no more to share. Oh, sorry. I now live in Texas and have more to share. For you, Steve, you can contact me. I have so many experiences to share. I'm an avid hunter fisherman. Reach out anytime. My first retired. All right, man, gotcha. Okay, Johnny. Okay, man, well, hopefully maybe we can hear from you live in the man cave one day soon, as soon as I get the damn thing done, all right? So many. So many. Which one are we going on here? Red, 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 red. Got that one. All right, this is called Bigfoot at the Beach Part 2 plus photos. Hello, Steve. My name is Lou. I've wrote you before. You recently read my story about my childhood school trip experience and sighting on the beach. You can use my first name if you like. I live in South Jersey by the shore. I've been listening to your channel for over a year now, and I really like what you're doing. There's no one else taking this approach to the subject. I'd like to address the subject of the origins of these beings and share a few more stories. First, I'm convinced they are connected to the fallen angels, mentioned in the Bible. Several reasons for this. The first and foremost is that whenever anyone invokes in the name of Jesus against these beings, they respond and either withdraw or stop their aggressive behavior towards them. Second is that there seems to be a connection between them and UFOs. They've been seen countless times in the vicinity of these strange craft. On a recent trip to Cape May? Or is it Cape Bay? I spotted another teepee structure on a beach while on board a sightseeing boat. When I got back to the hotel and checked the photo, I inadvertently caught a UFO flying over the structure. I'll include the photo at the end. I believe those so-called aliens, greys, are also some form of hybrid of these angels. The Bible refers to Satan as the prince, the power of the air. Interesting. Testing has shown that Sasquatch DNA is very similar to ours. The Bible says that angels can exist in our dimension, the physical realm, as well as the spiritual realm. This is an ability that Sasquatch seems to have as well. Sometimes they appear like distorted outline in the movie Predator. Sometimes they're fully cloaked. This could be perhaps because of the percentage of angelic DNA an individual possesses. Some may have more than others. DNA scientist Melba Ketchum wrote a paper on the subject after testing 20 different Sasquatch DNA samples. The test confirmed that they are a hybrid species originating from the mating of a human female and an unknown male possessing similar but uniquely different DNA. This also goes along with the biblical account of fallen angels taking a woman as mates, producing enormous offspring, and were known by many names, Nephilim and others, or simply as giants. I'm a Christian and have personally used my authority in Christ as a believer to order one of these Sasquatch to show yourself. When I smelled it, I knew it was there. I looked to my right and suddenly it was there where it wasn't a moment before. This was on an open beach, by the way, so nowhere for it to hide. It just walked along like it was taking a stroll. I told this story in the previous email, so I won't elaborate further. I included a picture of the beach structure where the sighting took place at the end. Their psychic abilities are also formidable. Before I had the encounter I just spoke of, I'd become rather obsessed with seeing one. Having found 2 teepee structures not far from my house, I knew one had to be nearby. Alright, so I'm not trying to sound like a dick or anything, I'm being straight up. So if you are absolutely convinced that you can command one of these beings to show themselves in the name of Jesus, then why would that not work every single time? And why would one not be able to put up a camera on a tripod, hit record, and then go to your commanding in the name of Jesus for them to show themselves? And that's an honest question. I'd love to hear the answer to that, okay? I kept visiting the newer of the 2 to see if I could find any tracks or changes in the structure. It was built inside a grove of trees between a sandy beach and a small salt marsh meadow. The funny thing is, whenever I would start to enter the grove, I would feel this sort of pressure, like a spiritual wall blocking me from entering. Not a physical barrier, but something was trying to discourage me from entering. I've always been tuned into the spiritual. I've had my share of experience with haunted houses, and it was a similar feeling. The way to deal with it is to push back with your psyche. All I can say is that the force pushed back, stronger than any haunted entity I've encountered. The teepee continues to get bigger every time I see it. However, I no longer go into the grove of trees where it is located. I only glance over at it as I walk along the beach where it is located. I've always liked walking along there before I discovered it, so I decided that I'll continue to like I did before. I actually caught a picture of the Sasquatch accidentally when I was taking pictures of it a few years ago. There were 4-inch diameter trees twisted and ripped off near the bases, probably used to build it. But when I got home and reviewed the photos, I noticed something standing in the meadow behind the structure about maybe 50 yards away and partially obscured by the meadow reeds. Upon zooming in, I could clearly see a dark brown figure with a black eye and a cone-shaped head staring at us. My son was with me. I was concerned about that when we were there. I felt like we were being watched and I had been on the alert, looking around constantly to see nothing. Constantly so nothing could sneak up on us. It was February and very cold, so no one was around, which felt dangerous to me. I was 47 at the time, my son was 20. I'm 6 foot tall and have practiced martial arts since I was a kid. My son's a bodybuilder and very strong, but I knew that if one showed up, we would be no match for it. I told my son if that happened, to run and I would deal with it. As a parent, you care more about your children's life than your own. Thankfully, we left without incident. But when I saw that thing in the picture, it just had this look like, what the hell are they doing near my shit? I'll include a photo at the end. Then some strange things began to happen. Sometimes when I left for work in the morning, I would step outside and smell an awful pungent sulfur smell lingering in the air. At first I thought nothing of it, but then it happened again. I would continue to smell that from time to time in my neighborhood and driving by certain areas near the marsh meadows. Living in a semi-rural area, you see and hear all kinds of natural creatures. So one night while sleeping, say around 2 to 3 a.m., I awoke to the sound of an owl hooting outside my window, but it sounded a bit strange. Then I heard another one answer it from across the lagoon. This went on for a while. It was creepy for some reason. Somehow it just fell off. Then when I would drive to my gun club shooting range, I could not shake the feeling that I was being tracked when I drove through the woods to go there. It was quite a distance from my house. I actually would turn off and go through a town instead of going down this one road, despite it being longer, just to avoid it after dark. So one evening I just couldn't shake that feeling. And as I was driving the detour route home, I crossed an area of salt marsh with a small bridge, which is about 3 to 4 miles away from the woods road, and suddenly a tree branch comes flying out of the marsh and slides across the hood of my car, just missing the windshield. This was a very precise throw. There was no one around, and no one would be standing in the mud in 40-degree weather just to throw shit at a passing car. I got the feeling that it was telling me, hey, yes, we are here and know who you are. About a year or so prior to this event, within a mile or so where this happened, a friend of mine and I were out on his boat fishing one evening after work. My friend likes to drink beer when he's fishing, so after having a few, he was unable to drive the boat, so I took over. It was getting dark and we were coming up the river toward the marina, which is leaving the salt bay, getting into brackish water, which ultimately leads back into the mainland wilderness. The marina is just before that. Anyway, as we were heading down the river in the dark, there's a small sandy beach on the right side. As we passed, it felt like I was being watched. My friend was downstairs, laying down, as this is a cuddy cabin boat. After we passed the beach, just at my 5 o'clock, something growled at us. Within a few seconds, I heard my friend say, "What the hell was that?" I just laughed to myself, and then I said, "I got a pretty good idea." I left it at that. As we continued on down the river, less than a minute later, I could hear the growl again coming from behind us back at the beach. I've heard it said that they do not like the sound of motors, engines, lawnmowers, especially at night. Again, this is all the same general vicinity as the branch throwing incident. Then the owl thing happened again. I could not go to sleep at night without feeling like somehow I was being targeted mentally. My wife even said to me one night that she felt, but not seen, the presence of what she said was like a man watching her through the backsliding door. She said it felt like a ghost watching her. We live on a lagoon with a bulkhead and floating dock. We like to sit out back at night sometimes. One night my wife was out back around midnight and she heard something large splash in the lagoon right in front of the dock. I myself had a similar experience and actually saw a wake in the water coming towards our dock. She said it was like a person had jumped out of the water. She got spooked and went inside. I decided that this wasn't right, so I said to myself, that's it. I felt as if they could hear my thoughts. So I resolved to leave them alone, and they will leave me alone. I will no longer go to the structure or try to find them, and they will stop bothering me and my family. I also resolved to stand in my authority in Christ to overpower them spiritually and mentally. I also let it be known that I will not hesitate to use the firepower at my disposal if necessary. I carry one of my handguns on me at my house and outside at all times. I also have my AK-47s and my AKMs ready to go if needed. I will defend my family and myself from anyone or anything that threatens it. Since then, things have been fine. I no longer feel like I did, and nothing further has happened. With the exception of last year, my son decided to go look at the teepee and show his girlfriend. He came home and told me and showed me some new pictures. I told him that it wasn't a good idea to go to that and not to go there anymore. I explained to him why and what had been going on before. He agreed. That night I was laying in bed with the window open, and off in the distance I heard the unmistakable Sasquatch howl. I asked my son if he was watching a YouTube video as his bedroom is next to ours, and he said no. I can't explain why, but I felt like he was letting me know, hey, tell your kid to stay the hell away. These creatures are not to be messed with. They know who you are and where you live. They know this through spiritual means. My advice is to never deliberately seek them out. They can be dangerous as well. Too many people have disappeared, some with evidence of Sasquatch involvement. My advice is mind your business, arm yourself, and stay alert when out in the woods or rural areas, especially near water. But do not let them keep you from doing things you love. If you aren't already, become a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ and stand on that authority. Steve, thanks again and God bless. Okay, man, thank you. And there's the pictures. There's a whole bunch of them, so I will have to load these onto the Dropbox. This is what I do. I gotta, whatever. I'll get them on the video, guys. I shall remember. I'll mark that at the top so I get the photos to share with all you. It's endless. It's frickin' endless. Endless, endless, endless. All right. What's this one? And I gotta get back outside, get my shit done so I can get out of here. Just another child who saw a Sasquatch watching. Hello, Steve. I'm almost 70 years old. Woman with a history of Sasquatch experiences and recently dogman. Ugh. In 1956, my dad moved us to a house in Carmel Valley, California. The area was secluded and just beginning to be developed. Dad was at Naval Line School doing postgraduate work after flying a bomber during World War II. I was 4 years old. I began waking in the middle of the night and looking out my window into our backyard. I saw what my 4-year-old mind told me was King Kong. It would stand at the tree line swaying. I wasn't frightened. I wondered if it was keeping me calm. I would then get back in bed and go back to sleep. I mentioned my visit to my dad while he was making breakfast one Saturday. His expression didn't change, but I could tell he believed me. That very same day, my swing set was moved to the front yard where it could be visually monitored. The floodlights were put on the house, and I never again was without a canine by my side. Perfect. In the 1970s, I saw the Boggy Creek movie, went home and started a discussion with my dad. He told me the visitor was what he thought to identify as a forest man. He said he'd never seen one, but was taught about them by indigenous people. He spent time in the Sierras as a young man and had heard hoots, screams, and wood knocks, but never actually seen one. My dad taught both my brother and me to use our inner voice, our sixth sense in all things. I always do. I act then when I'm safe. I rationalize the events. This has kept me out of harm's way all my life so far. This is my first experience, the last being 2 winters ago during COVID lockdown. Thank you for providing this forum. Regards, Roxanne. Roxanne, thank you so much. And I can absolutely relate to everything you stated, especially the sixth sense and following it no matter what in life. You go against your intuition, you're going to lose every single time. Every time. Well, I should just go one more maybe. Go down and list some of the recents here. Hello, Steve. How you doing? This is Ray from Temple, Texas. Hey, Ray. I'm doing good, man. You're a brave, good man. I'm thankful for you and your group of Sasquatch witnesses. I belong to the group also, and it feels great knowing that there are tens of thousands of people who have seen these things. I wrote you about being chased in my truck across the Sabine River Bridge in East Texas in 2012. Also had a visit by the jerks in the no-play Tahoe. Just to let you know, they have passed my house several times and I am not backing down. One night as I walked down to the corner store, that same Tahoe stopped me, and the guy in the driver's seat told me that if I kept talking to people about an encounter, I am known throughout the county as a popular DJ and promoter of music. A lot of people like me and there are a few who are jackasses. Well, now I'm sick and on dialysis, don't DJ as much, and here it goes. This guy, who I could barely see, told me to stop or I would get a visit from the type of creature who I've been saying I've seen. Is this a possibility? It really blew my mind, and I got a cold sweat just looking at the two goofballs. They didn't say anything, I just walked away. But lately I've been hearing things that you have read about on your show. I'll defend myself and my family if I have to. Thank you so much. Your bro in Texas, Ray. Thank you, Ray. It's a little odd. We don't really get those emails. Well, I don't think we've had any emails of guys in Tahoe threatening people. Not yet. We've had one ex-police officer emailed us about contacting that idiot at the BF whatever O. And then next thing you know, the property he had permission to be on was overrun with these idiots in a helicopter, and the landowners got pissed at him. And then a couple guys pulled him over and started playing good cop, bad cop with him. That's the only other incident that I can recall fresh in my mind of people emailing us about being harassed. And, hold on a sec. Speak to the devil. Somebody's out there. All good. Neighbors coming over to see the horses up ahead of the property. I just seen a pair of legs going through the timber, the trees there. But anyways, yeah, we haven't had anybody other than that email in, but my advice to you would be to get your friends together, possibly, and force those guys out of the vehicle and have a talk with them, right? Tell them to ram it up their ass. It's probably just a couple of punks playing games with you, possibly, right? I wished I lived nearby. I'd say send them over to my house. Send them over to my house and down my driveway. They won't be leaving. They won't be leaving anytime soon if they did. But don't ever be intimidated by any human being ever. It goes for everybody. Never be intimidated by anybody. You got some asshole coming giving you grief, you give it back to him, right? Don't take that shit. Anyway, I gotta go. I got chickens out in the window here. I got people feeding my horses and the goats are screaming. I got stuff to do and I feel like I haven't slept in a week. But tonight, this evening, I'll go through my emails of some important knowledge to share with you guys. You're going to be very interested in it, and a lot of people are going to be blown away by it. A lot of people, and probably a good handful of people are even going to feel threatened by it. Oh well, that's what happens when you go on these journeys of knowledge, real true knowledge, right? I'm out of here. Enough. I gotta go. Talk short.